Hey, it's Max Butler from Coforce filming today. You gave us a thumb last time. Show us something else to let us know. Proof of life, Max Butler. Let's see. No, bone stacking, bone locking, Max Butler. Hey, I'm Marshall Pruett. Thank you once again for watching RACER's YouTube content. We're done with the final regular practice session of the Indy 500. Next up, Friday, carb day, carburation. We're going to check the carburetors on Friday, make sure the jets are just right. Interesting practice session. We got through an entire week of running, got through qualifying, got through cars crazy trimmed out on the ragged edge and 240 something miles an hour and no problems at all. And unfortunately that streak ended today. 2 cars hard into the wall, 2 drivers, one of them injured to some degree, enough so for our dear pal Stefan to need to be taken to the local hospital. By chance, I happened to be down in turn 1 taking photographs when that happened, and boy, they went in the wall a ton. Katherine Legge, the other part of the crash here, Katherine said she just was not expecting the pack in front of her to be slowing down that much, and they were. The entire group of cars in front of Steph were just slowing down a wee bit. She came upon them at a very high rate of speed, hit the back of Stefan's car. They both spun. Steph happened to power really hard, nose first, into the safer barrier, enough so to where some damage was done to the barrier that needed to be fixed before the session could continue. IndyCar red flagged this 2-hour practice session from 1 till 3. Steph came to a stop down in turn 2, was waiting and waiting and waiting for him to get out of the car, knowing that he is as tall as he is. He's really jam-packed into that car. Why am I mentioning that compared to maybe a shorter driver? There's no room for him to compress in a crash and pull his legs back and his elbows and be free. If there's a hard hit, as he took, most likely arms, legs, back, something is going to take a pretty hard shock. Just talking to Steph yesterday, him wearing a short sleeve shirt, you could see just from him driving the car, big old raw patch, just bloody, just worn away on his elbow, and it's because he can't get any farther away than he is. So took him to a local hospital, watched them put him into an ambulance on the stretcher, gave everyone a thumbs up, which made me, and I'm sure millions of other people, just take a deep breath of relief. Love him. He's family to all of us. The Wilson family in general is family to all of us. Katherine, very thankfully, completely uninjured, was seen and released by IndyCar Medical, so she is free and clear to drive. Got a update from IMS Medical about Steph saying that he's communicating and everything seems to be okay or trending in the right direction, but was there needing to get imaging done. And when imaging is getting done, that tends to lean towards bones. Not so much soft tissue, but anyway, so hoping that there's nothing in his back or anything else that's injured that would prevent him from being able to drive, but we don't know at this point. So as soon as we do, obviously going to provide an update on RACER. Let's get to the cars themselves, and we'll talk about the practice session here in a moment to close, but Steph's car looks like it bore the brunt of that impact with the front. Obviously, these cars are designed to crash, decelerate, shred, reduce energy. All those things look like they did what they were supposed to do, but it did look, at least from the photos I have from the crash, like the front of Steph's tub might have gotten into the wall as well. And if that happened, that means a chassis change is required. I've asked the team, whenever you happen to make that determination, please let me know. We'll obviously update you. You try not to be that guy who's down there hounding them when they're trying to find out what kind of brutal potential couple of days they're going to have. Similar thoughts towards Katherine's car. Looked like more overall damage was done to her number 44 Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing Honda than Steph's, but more of the everything that's supposed to crash and get replaced compared to the tub itself, but we don't know. So again, it could be 2 cars that need to be replaced in order for them to participate in the race. We know Katherine can, Still waiting to hear on Steph. Overstating the obvious here, but I think the Rahals have received enough punishment and adversity and sorrow and whatnot over the last 24 hours, as if the heartbreak for Graham on a deeply personal level of not making the race wasn't enough. His crew members obviously being vastly disappointed. All of them, from race engineer down to the newest mechanic on the car, have exhausted themselves trying to find speed for that number 15 RLL Honda. If there's anything that might be a little bit of a saving grace here, it's that number 15 crew, in theory, could be available to help rebuild the number 44 car if necessary. So not as if the crew on the 44 car for Katherine can't do it themselves, but we know that there are some highly talented people who potentially could just make whatever rebuild process, whether it's the entire car or just part of it, a faster and easier thing. So we'll get that information to you as soon as we have it. On the Dry and Reinbold side, I think they're going to have some serious work ahead of them. So, but yeah, back to the Rahals. Between yesterday and then this today, racing gods can be not very, very kind at times. So feel for them. I can tell you for sure my Angels were with me in turn one. Things happen so quickly when they're going 230 plus that unless it's a single car crash or maybe just two on their own in isolation, no other cars around them, you'll hear it, you'll be alert, you'll react instantly. With Steph and Katherine being fourth, fifth car in the pack, whatever it was, it's loud enough to where it's hard to discern what's happening with them from everything else. So was fortunate to be able to kind of move and duck out of the way, but also was able to get a couple of crazy shots of what happened there. So admittedly, you hope that you never have photos of a crash. Nonetheless, sometimes you have to do a little bit of self-preservation as well, but we're thinking about Steph and hoping that everything works out well for him. As for who was fastest, that was the speediest man from Toowoomba, Australia, Will Power. Big drafting party as you would expect. No one's working on qualifying setups today, but big drafting parties, and Team Penske to the front, a strong 229, and who's right behind him? Scott Dixon, super crazy strong. Alex Pallou's in there, Tony Kanaan's in there, Takuma Sato is in there. What do we have towards the front? Hey, we got Penske's, we got Ganassi's, we got Arrow McLaren's. Marco Andretti was up there, I forget where, 6th, 7th, something like that. Marco fast in a tow, not something we're going to be surprised about, but things kind of went the way expected. Wasn't necessarily thinking Will Power was going to be P1, but hey, maybe Team Penske found something a little extra. So I'd love for that to be the case. So we have a bunch of teams just battling it out for the 107th Indy 500. Couple of anomalies towards the bottom of the run sheet today, that being Santino Ferrucci. We have not been able to get that guy seemingly out of the top 3, 5, 10, 12, pretty much down towards the bottom. Rinus VeeKay as well. Another crazy strong run for him in qualifying, and yet day with not all the results they were hoping for. So practice went normal. We unfortunately had our first crash of the month. More to report on that. We have Steph's teammate, our pal Ryan Hunter-Reay, coming up here to talk about his session, what he did, what he went through, and he gives us some cool descriptions of really what drivers were looking for in that session and how they're trying to achieve it. So always appreciate Captain America for making us a little bit smarter. So let's cut to our man, good old Ryan Hunter-Reay. You know him as Ryan Hunter-Reay. I also know you as, whenever we would go down to Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix, since in Portuguese, the letter R is pronounced as an H. I loved hearing over the PA system, Ryan Hunter-Reay! So this is Ryan Hunter-Reay. Hey!
Go by Ryan.
Not too bad for you. We'll talk about your teammate, Steph Wilson, who unfortunately half of the Dry and Reinbold racing crew gonna have some work here, but tell me about your hot rod. You were like P4 right out of the box. Your Chevy was singing. working on the car, trying to get it ready for carb day. 11th in the end, but not a total smile from you.
Yeah, I mean, I felt really good the whole session. You know, we were just chipping away. I felt like I was real close to where we needed to be, just chipping away at some understeer. You know, with this car, it doesn't really matter how much downforce you add to it, whatever you do. You get into a pack of 10, 12, and you're just kind of waiting for somebody to make a mistake. You get that kind of washout understeer. But we were chipping away at it, kept throwing some changes at it to reduce that push. And, you know, in the end, ended up in a really big, nasty pack and kind of still had it. So we've got some things that we know we need to do for carb day. It's a good thing we have carb day. But overall, I mean, I'm super comfortable in the car. You know, the rear is not an issue at all. It's just the front, and that's a good thing going into carb day. So yeah, the team, like you said, has a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, I hope Steph's all right. I'm hearing he's all right. Going to get checked out, I guess, at the hospital, like you said. But yeah, we'll have to survey the damage on that car and see what's going on. That's one downside to running these big packs here is one little mistake trips it all up.
He's all of our little brother, and he's a grown man, married, and all that stuff. But obviously, since we lost our dear Justin, we've all just held on to him like our little brother that we love.
Feels like a little brother. Yep, no doubt.
Let's tell folks, Ryan, because you're always really good at helping to educate us about what it's like in the car. So you mentioned intentionally going out in some of these nasty long packs. You'd think, well, wait a minute, isn't that going to chuck the car around and feel horrible? Why would you want to do that? It's probably what you're going to do for about 450 and 500 miles on Sunday.
Yeah.
Tell folks about that decision, and then trying to make a car feel, I don't know if it ever feels good, but you're trying to get it to not terrible in this big buffeting thing going on. Tell folks about that, because it's a crazy pursuit you and everyone else are doing. I don't know if you ever get to a place where you're like, yes.
Yeah, it is tough. And trust me, it's much more fun going out there and being 1, 2, or 3. And you could just, you know, do this the whole time and you're passing your buddies and all this stuff. But no, we went into the pack because that's where we're going to be on the start, right? We're starting 18th. You know, the restarts are crazy like that with a lot of, you know, a lot of dirty air. So really, it comes down to, you can have a really good car that works, you know, 4/5 of the way through the corner. It's that last fifth of the corner that and that really where the front will take off and surprise you, yeah. And an odd thing with this car, it's like the front is so oversaturated by the time it gets to the exit, like the right front's just screaming for help, that when you lift, it takes off with even more understeer. Like you've overloaded the front even more, the weight's gone forward, and it goes even more. It's a horrible feeling.
Wow.
So you have to be very, very careful about your intentions with the throttle at mid-corner. If you go to commit to it and all that weight goes rearward and that front starts to take off, you could have a really late lift, which means, you know, you're going to get passed. So it is I mean, you're constantly calculating your timing on where you can commit to throttle mid-corner.
This is why guys like this get paid millions of dollars, because they go out at 235 miles an hour and they're like, it's understeering, and here comes the, I mean.
Yeah, got my attention a few times.
My wife was just telling me,
pretty wild.
I need to be a forensic accountant or something, because I called to tell her, I don't know if you saw anything on TV, but I was the fat guy pushing away from the fence with the crash, but I'm fine.
Glad you're all right. Yeah. Were you wearing a helmet?
No, but I was standing behind all kinds of cables and fencing.
You might need to wear a helmet over there.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Let's close on this. So, as I mentioned earlier in the month, you got your Johnny Cash Man in Black motif going on. I'm hoping we'll see some sponsors appear on your car, but you started out your IndyCar career with some smaller teams, some fighter challenger teams. Tell me about coming full circle, because I love your odds. I think I can bet in the state of Indiana, even though I'm not a resident. I'll figure that part out, but I'm putting some money on you, Hunter-Reay, because I think you're going to do well. But
thanks, man.
Just tell me about the spirit of coming back to a smaller team. Smaller doesn't mean less capable, just means everyone's working a little harder to try and beat the top guys. But tell me about kind of circling back to where you started your career.
It's a lot of fun. I have to be honest with you. It's really cool because this whole team really wants it, right? I mean, everybody up and down this pit lane wants it, but these guys are in the middle of their mid-season grind right now, right? This is kind of just part of the path that they're on for the whole season. And for Dry and Reinbold Racing, this is what they focus on all year. And you know, and it's that small, really tight group feeling. The car prep's awesome. I mean, I've been super comfortable in the car. There hasn't been like one mistake from on the crew side from anything in the cockpit or a change gone wrong or any of that. And for a team that comes together and does this race once a year, you know, obviously a lot of these guys are on there full time, but
Yep.
at the same time, man, it's very impressive. And for me, I've been enjoying it, that feeling of really steering, helping steer a ship that is maneuverable, right? Not this big freighter that takes forever to turn. You can really have an impact on what you feel and what you want from the team, and they've been great. I mean, it's all about, like I said from the beginning, it's all about people. It's great people here at this team.
So knowing this guy, he's going to find out in just a second how his teammate Steph is doing, and if they're going to hold on to him for a little while, I can guarantee you he's going to be blasting over the hospital because he's one of those guys who truly cares. Going to be a rough couple days for the team, so I'm sure you'll be bringing them coffee and donuts or whatever, because although it wasn't your car that crashed, you don't look at it that way. You look at this as my team, right?
Yeah, it's the same group. I mean, this team really is one team that has 2 cars. So you'll see that the 23 guys when we go back there are going to be all over it as well. So hopefully it's manageable. Hopefully it's not tubbed. Most of all, hopefully Steph's all right and he comes right back, and we're talking to him here in a few minutes. But yeah, a lot of hopefullys in there.
Hunter-Reay got a good one to root for on Sunday.
Thanks, bud.